Okay, so good morning, Morena, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to Strategy, Finance and Risk Committee meeting, Monday, the 25th of March, 2024. Terms of health and safety, a reminder to people to, if the alarm sounds, we make our way out that door and across the road at Assembly Point and await instructions from staff. Everyone needs to be reminded that this meeting is being live streamed and the video is publicly available on YouTube. And can everyone either turn their phones off or turn them onto silent, please? We've already had a special council meeting this morning and opened with a karakia, so I think we're still okay under God's protection. So I'll call for any apologies. I know we've got Stephen online, we've got Bruce coming in online, and Tapio joining us online. Who are we missing? Matere? Apology from Matere. Okay. Would someone like to, so we've got a couple coming in late and an apology. Someone like to move those, Wayne? Thank you. And Rohario, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against carried. We have no one booked for a public forum. We have no late items. We have no confidential business to be transferred into the open. We have no change to the order of business. I just give notice that I will have to leave the meeting at 10:45 to attend another meeting, but my deputy, I'm sure, will take over and do an excellent job. Thank you. That brings us to the minutes of the 19th of February. Any questions on that meeting? No. Moved as a true and correct record by Bill, seconded by Wayne. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favour say aye. Against carried. Thank you. Declaration of conflicts of interest. Shad and Raphael.
Sorry, 9.5, the growth in land use, particularly around fast track, or any conversations around fast track. I'm still doing a bit of work for the Crown on that, so I'll refrain from engaging in that part of the conversation.
Thank you.
Morena, kia ora, I just echo what Shad has just said, so 9.5 in relation to RM reforms matters and fast track.
Thank you. And Bill, you're going to declare an interest in the alcohol policy, are you?
Not quite.
I think we all would.
Item 9.5.
Right. Thank you. So those conflicts of interest are noted. So that brings us to the first business of the day, which is the Main Streets Monitoring Report. Kendall's coming up. We have some of our visitors here.
Yes, good morning.
Hard workers from the Main Streets.
That's it. I'd just like to introduce the speakers that will be talking to their reports this morning. I'll take my cover report as read and happy to take any questions if required. This morning we have Mahia from Greaton Village, Genevieve and Ash from Main Street Tauranga, Michael and Malika from Mount Business Association, and Julia and Leah from Papamoa Unlimited. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Mahia.
Morning. Good morning. Now you've been here before, you know you've got to press the button. Yep.
Morena, everyone. Thank you, Tauranga. Thank you, Tauranga City Council, for supporting Greaton Village. It has been an eventful 6 months with a range of events and promotions carried out during this timeframe. Highlights over the previous 6 months include rebranding the Greaton Village Community Association to the Greaton Business Association, the Cherry Blossom Festival, lighting of the Christmas tree, and confirming and signing the new Main Street agreement. Events and promotions. The Cherry Blossom Festival. This annual event celebrates spring and supports Greaton Village School. This was the biggest number of visitors in history to the Cherry Blossom Festival. The high numbers of foot traffic recorded were over 13,000 visitors on that day. The previous year's numbers were around the 5,000 mark. Halloween Trail. For the children in the community, we had a fun Count the Pumpkins in the Window Halloween Trail. 3 lucky children won chocolatey prizes. Vintage Market in support of 150 years of Tauranga racing. We were asked by Tauranga Racing to help them support their event. We held a vintage market outside the Greaton Library. Lighting the Christmas tree in Greaton. All trees directly outside the library in Greaton have been covered in fairy lights, as well as 2 trees on Cameron Road and the tree outside Greaton Village School. 2 trees at the roundabouts on Cameron Road are the 2 trees that are covered in fairy lights. Branding. Regarding the branding of the Greaton Village Community Association to the Greaton Business Association, we wanted to bring our organisation up to date to match the outcomes of our new Main Street agreement, as well as our new constitution. Marketing. We have continued to experiment with using digital online advertising with our events and promotions. The data feedback has been amazing, with an average of 29,988 impressions on our ads. Our website is an important part of our marketing. However, it does not bring the instant reporting back of data as Facebook and other social medias. Marketing activities in the previous 6 months included winter online giveaways, a Sun Media partnership, our website, as we're working on updating our website as it has outgrown its current use, social media. The Greaton Village Facebook page continues to draw public to our events and promotions and has increased page likes from 4.4 thousand to 4.8 thousand. We've had no use of radio in the previous 6 months. However, we have used posters and flyers at the Matamata eyesite, as we have increased interest from people travelling from the Waikato to our events. We've also used advertising space in local magazines. KPIs. We have achieved significant social media growth with an audience of both the younger and older demographic. We are on track with our events and promotions and see this as an exciting time for change. We continue to work closely with business owners to help build their trust in dealing with issues and engage them to buy into our local promotions. Issues. Greaton Village development work for Cameron Road Stage 2. We're continuing to work with Tauranga City Council on Cameron Road Stage 2. Through its concept to its conclusion, we have engineers from TCC and GHD visiting our board meeting this April, to give us an update on what is happening. Homeless and transient people. We continue to experience issue with this widespread social issue. We understand that it is not just Greaton that has this concern. Backed by the local police, we are encouraging all business owners to dial 111 in event of abuse or aggravated approaches on their customers. Looking forward. Future activities in the next coming 6 months. We're changing the dynamic changing the name and dynamics of the Cherry Blossom Festival. We want to be more inclusive of all of Greaton. Part of this change has been the ongoing issue of the cherry trees not flowering on time on the actual day of the event, which is why we've changed the name to Greaton Spring Fling Festival. It is still focusing on spring without the pressure of the cherry trees flowering in time. It is our intention to celebrate Matariki this year with the 9 stars of the constellation by having them displayed somewhere in our area. These stars will be made locally and covered in fairy lights. We are discussing the possibility of a Kiwiana Main Street display to help bring shoppers to our village during the day. We continue to work closely with business owners, believing that personal contact is much more important than Facebook stats and the importance of building their trust in dealing with issues and engaging their buy-in to our promotions. This has been shown, I think, by the large number of participating business in our recent promotions. In December, we will be covering the whole village in lights. There will be no Christmas tree. The board has made the decision as the current Christmas tree is showing major signs of wear and tear, and we do not need a new one. There have also been ongoing issues with the tree, including decorations going missing, vagrant, homeless sleeping under the tree, even though it is heavily fenced off. We are currently working on a strategic plan for Greaton. Thank you. I would like to specifically thank the Tauranga City Urban Forest team for being very helpful when working with our contractors during the lighting of our trees in Greaton last year. I would also like to thank Paul Mason for supporting us with our ongoing issues with transient people in our area. A copy of our audit of our accounts has been supplied and paperwork from our AGM is to come. Are there any questions?
Mahia, that's a very fulsome report. I can understand the pressure to have the cherry blossom blossoming in time for the Cherry Blossom Festival. And as we all know, any gardener knows, it's very hard to control nature. Yes, Shad. And then
Kia ora Mahia, thank you for the report. I just had a question about, in your report you note, I suppose investigating the prospect of widening your area of interest to include potentially Malemi Street. There are a lot of not just industrial businesses on Malemi Street. I don't necessarily understand the process that you might need to go through or that council may need to go through engaging with those businesses. But apart from that, have you started some of those conversations with some of those businesses down in Malemi Street?
Not at this stage. I have been having a courageous conversation with my supervisor from Tauranga City Council, Kendall, and we're just at the conversation stage of that process.
Thank you. And I did have one last question. We hear it a lot in and around the city and also in the Mount in regards to parking. And just wanted to kind of get a sense from you, any issues or challenges with parking in and around Greaton?
Not that I'm aware of. In regards to the concept plans for Cameron Road Stage 2, that concern has been brought up. However, in the current plan, there is probably only 4 car parks that will be taken up. And the local retailers in that area where those car parks may be taken up are not concerned about that. So,
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. First of all, I just wanted to acknowledge, in terms of the positive report and presentation in terms of what's happening in Greaton, and also the range of initiatives and what you're intending to do there. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and well done.
Thank you.
I just, in terms of the financials, and you've had to delve, I think, into your reserves in terms of your financial situation. What's the thinking around addressing that going forward?
So in part of our plan, we have been actively applying for funding through the various funding providers available. I've already applied for funding for our Matariki event, and I will be applying for funding for our Spring Breton Spring Fling Festival. Yeah, so that's a major part of my intentions this year.
Yeah, so I was going to ask Kendall about, because I think in her report she talks about the expansion processes that other councils go through. So I presume that I was going to ask Kendall if that's underway. Yeah, because I think those boundaries have been in place for quite some time, haven't they? Look, it's good to hear that you, as Bill said, it's a really positive report, and it's good to hear that you are working closely with our the people around Cameron Road Stage 2. I think they've had the message from us that Greaton Village is special, and so it's working well.
Yes.
And so we don't want to disturb it too much. That's whether they listen to us. We will rely on you to keep repeating that message. But I think the community, as you say, the parking is very good. The access is good. So if it's working, you don't need to do too much to it.
Yeah, thank you.
Wayne, did you have a question? Yeah.
Kia ora. Thank you very much. And again, Tai toko, wonderful report. Thank you. The reach out, I was going to leave with a similar question to Councillor Commissioner Rolston. You got Malini Street down one side, down Sershan Street, the far end of Chaddock Road, there's an equally sort of a big industrial sort of business area. Is that already taken into consideration to what you're doing there in Greaton?
That's really interesting that you just brought that up. You're the second person to say that to me this week. It is very industrial down there. It's something that I'd have to look into, but I just feel that Malimi Street does have more of a connection. There are a lot of retail businesses and other beauty therapists and doggy daycares that might be more interested in coming on board. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Well, sorry, on first instance, I would challenge. I think it appears that, as one would say when they drove down Malini Street at the first time, I think you'll find there is quite a few smaller. There's taekwondo businesses in there. There's a lot of quirky sort of smaller businesses in there, not just the big industrial. So well worth a look, I think, because my opinion, I think it mirrors Malini Street very similarly. So worth a look.
I'll definitely have a look.
Thank you very much, Mahia. Thank you for your work. Tough times in the retail industries. Who's coming next? Mount? No? Downtown Tauranga. Go on, you're on your feet. So Ash and Genevieve, downtown Tauranga. I'm looking at the agenda, not the actual agenda. I'm looking at my run sheet, not the agenda. You're next in the agenda. You're right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. Firstly, thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to present the 6-monthly report for Main Street Tauranga Incorporated. My name is Genevieve and I'm the new manager for Downtown Tauranga, and I'm here presenting with our chair, Ash G. I'd also like to introduce you all to our Amber McNichol, who is our new admin. She's doing over there in the corner. She's come on board in the last 1.5 weeks to do admin and event coordination for us, which is very helpful. So I'm not sure who's doing the slides. Okay, so we can move on to slide 2.
There's a lag time, so.
Oh, okay, no, that's fine. Yep, so it will be no surprise to anyone in this room that downtown Tauranga is operating under a new business model, and with that comes change and a new vision for the city centre. Slide 3. A new business model for our organisation was deployed on the 1st of July. From here, we've recruited myself, and we now have an admin and events coordinator on board, Amber. I'm now proactively working with the board and our members of downtown Tauranga towards the vision of making Tauranga City Council City Centre the best city centre in New Zealand. It's a bold and ambitious statement, but we see the incredible potential in this city. We envisage the Tauranga City Centre to be vibrant, diverse and thriving, and definitely known as the region's commercial, cultural and civic hub. This vision will be defined in both our long-term 3 to 5 year strategy and our short-term strategy annual plan, which will be presented at the 2024 AGM. Slide 4. So our KPIs: an engaged membership, a safe and inviting city centre, a considered community, and a city centre for everyone.
We're having trouble with tech here, but you just keep
That's
going.
okay.
You're doing well.
That's all good.
Completely ignoring it, that's fine.
Right, so our key achievements and highlights. We feel that we've achieved a huge amount in the last 6 months in a relatively short space of time. Key appointment was Ash and the board recruiting a Main Street manager myself, and I've immersed myself in as many facets as I can to understand and help support the city centre and businesses grow. My strengths lie in strategic planning, being highly organised, networking and engaging, and just getting things done. Increased transparency and communication. Our overarching goal has been to proactively support the people and the businesses of the Tauranga City Centre and build a sense of community and trust. We're consistently communicating with our members via e-newsletters. In the last 4 months, we've sent 4,390 emails out. We've had person-to-person meetings, direct emails, and we've also developed a WhatsApp group that's had a 12% uptake, but that continues to grow. And it's all aimed at creating more connection and informed downtown community. Number 3, social media strategy. Recognising the need for a strategic and clear marketing and promotion strategy for the city centre, a social media agency has been contracted to assist to promote our city centre. Number 4, city centre activations. We had a really successful Christmas in the city centre, which was hugely helped by the support of TCC. In just 10 days, Santa's Grotto had 1,200 people through the doors and drove additional people into the businesses in the surrounding area. This event was accompanied by a series of positive media stories, including a standout feature with Sun Live making the front page. We also had a number of activations around town with decorations up to try and encourage people into the grotto. Our 2023 annual general meeting had one of the highest turnouts of our AGMs in a long time, with around 50 attendees. This included local businesses, stakeholders, TCC representatives, and our Commissioner, Stephen Selwood. Advocacy. Downtown Tauranga is continuing to build a solid foundation of trust and collaboration. We continue to work hard to advocate for our city centre. A standout result we have seen reflected through our advocacy in the last 6 months is the work we've done with Paul Mason, City Safety and Engagement Advisor, to tackle the antisocial behaviour. A recent article in the Bay of Plenty Times demonstrated the success here with positive feedback from retailers, and we have also noticed a decline in incident reports and an increase in member confidence. In progress projects, promotions, marketing and stakeholder engagement. We're currently working on a new website, an up-to-date CRM, a new media strategy focusing on positive news stories for the city centre, and cementing key stakeholder relationships to assist downtown Tauranga in becoming a strong collaborative organisation for our community. Specific areas of interest: analysing city centre foot traffic. Downtown Tauranga gains insights into foot traffic for the city centre via bellwether data. The data for these reports is from Devonport Road only. This doesn't reflect the whole picture, but it provides valuable insights about trends and patterns currently, as well as future projections. Of note, total foot traffic for 2023 on Devonport Road was 642,170. That's a 10.7% increase from 2022. While this reflects an upward trend, which is positive, This will also be skewed by considering the increase in return to the office for corporate companies, as well as contractors that have been increasing across the year. The current projection for 2024 suggests 700,000 people will visit Devonport Road, which represents a 9% increase. This does not account for the potential extra foot traffic generated and the revenue from the Elizabeth Street Towers opening. However, when you're assessing foot traffic, you also need to consider the sales data. The general consensus from city centre businesses is that increased foot traffic hasn't always translated to additional value/revenue for businesses, but there have been some positive trends. We should be more focused on the actual revenue derived from the movement of people and the sales transactions occurring across the city centre. The statistics provided to us by the Tauranga City Council does not align fully with the Main Street rateable area. The report includes an overview of the total city centre, which is larger than our management area. We will be looking at ways to gain more relevant data for our area for future reports. So 2023 city centre revenue, 181 million, with an even split for the second half of the year, July to December, of 91 million. The highest revenue FPOS transactions for 2023 were groceries, accommodation, liquor, and hospitality. Comparing July to December 23 to the same months in 2022, accommodation, fuel, automotive, and groceries and liquor also showed an increase, but we are seeing price increases across every sector currently. 2023 has been a bit of a flat year when we compare it with 2022, and there are a variety of reasons that have potentially influenced this. Changing state of the economy, effects of inflation, a subdued post-COVID recovery, and a perception and access issue to the city centre, which is something we continue to work on. On the up, accommodation. The stats supplied show a 40% increase in accommodation sales for July to December 23 compared to the same period in 2022, which reflects a positive trend and a rebound for the sector. But to consider is hospitality, which is showing an overall increase of 4.8% in 23, but stats indicated a 4.12% decrease between July to December. According to the Restaurant Association Q3 report, there's been a significant downturn in customers nationally. On average, 40% of diners have reduced their frequency and they're dining out 1 to 2 times per month due to the cost of living crisis, while hospitality... Oh, sorry, I just lost it. Oh, it's back again. While hospitality prices have increased to cope with costs. So conclusion, foot traffic on its own does not paint the full picture. The information needs to come directly from our members, and we'll be looking at ways to gather this going forward in the future. Challenges and actions. Downtown Tauranga recognises that safety in the city centre is an ongoing challenge. Since the introduction of Paul Mason, TCC's City Safety and Engagement Advisor, who has been active on with daily presence city centre, we have seen a drop in the incident reports, which is fantastic. We acknowledge there is more work to do in this area. Access to the city centre. More access routes and a variety of affordable and reliable transport options are required to get into the city centre, as well as places to park, which we have some key initiatives that we would like to investigate going forward. Reinstigating a ferry service between the Mount and Tauranga for the cruise ships 24-25. Promotion of free car parking locations and times around the city centre. Feedback to the Regional Council regarding bus services and timetables. Business support. A range of activities and initiatives have been undertaken to increase support for our businesses, including improved direct engagement, increasing safety and transparency through various support and partnership programs, providing network and engagement opportunities, specific workshops that focus on improving financial proficiency and increasing marketing effectiveness. Vacant spaces. Demand for office space within the city centre has been reported by our contacts in real estate, which is promising. We're looking at short-term and long-term activations to support filling these spaces. This includes discussions with landlords, real estate agents, TCC and other parties, resale and precinct strategy, strong marketing and promotions to increase interest in people coming into the city centre, and also pop-ups or alternative uses of those vacant spaces. So if they can't be filled long-term, maybe they can be filled short-term. Perception. We're also looking at a range of projects and initiatives to support a perception change, including strong marketing and promotion strategy, a new website and promotions to showcase our downtown community, greater advocacy and collaboration with city centre businesses, and greater engagement and more consistent meetings with our key stakeholders. Looking ahead, implementation of our 3 to 5 year strategy. With a more clearly defined business model and our ambitious goal of being the best city in New Zealand, the key objective over the next 6 months is to finalise and begin implementing our 3 to 5 year strategy. Based on our members' feedback, this plan will be implemented during the next 5 pivotal years, where the city's population of Tauranga is expected to exceed 200,000 by 2028. We've identified a number of key characteristics that illustrate the city centre's true potential. These key areas will be addressed at our 2024 AGM and presented in our draft annual plan for 24-25. Lastly, we wish to encourage those interested in being part of the new elected council later this year to reach out to us to find out more about our vision for our city centre. And just of note, our financials are also included in the report.
Good. Thank you, Genevieve. Ash, did you want to add anything to that?
Just here in support at the moment.
No, look, it's really good. It's good that we're working closely together. As you say, the next 5 years are quite critical for the city. But I think by the end of this week, we'll probably have 6 cranes on the skyline. I just love the green one lit up. Can't we encourage them all to light up and make the city look a bit more exciting? I mean, it's great to see cranes on the skyline, but we want to see them at night as well.
I agree.
There is a lot happening, and hopefully we're joined at the hip on all of that.
Yeah, we agree completely. And I really feel like the last 6 months has been basically a case of basically figuring out how we want to move forward with this new business model. And we've sort of everything's coming into motion now. And with Amber on board, we feel like we can really go forward positively.
I think we've got the Minister Mitchell here next month, and I've said to him he really needs to meet and look at what's happening in the city centre. And that's some of the best publicity we could ever have for the city, because it's gone national.
Yes.
About what's happening in the centre of our town, and that perception of it being unsafe. We were getting that message a lot. So to turn that around is really, really good.
Absolutely.
Stephen, you've got your hand up. Can't quite see your face properly,
Yeah,
but
thank you. I think is the audio coming through okay?
yes, audio's a lot better than your face.
Okay. Thank you. Very reassuring. Look, I think that was an excellent report. Thank you. And attending the AGM, we made the comment, I think, between Gareth and I, of the need to change the language, change the perception about the CBD, and your report has completely encapsulated that. Not only do you have a very strong strategic plan, it's linked to evidence, and it's also linked to some very concrete actions in a very proactive way, and a much more, in fact, it is totally positive. And I think that's exactly the strategy. And as Anne said, any opportunity to leverage off a minister in town to help tell that story, we should capitalise on that. But well done to you both and to the wider team. I think you're on message, and the more that we can get positivity about what's happening in the city, and it is exciting what's happening, then I'm sure the businesses will prosper as a result. So thank you for your report.
Thank you, Stephen. And we agree. There's actually a lot of really great things happening in the city centre, and it's just about telling those stories.
Thanks, Chair. And I think what you've outlined too, certainly from my perspective, the confidence in terms of the change to the business model that you have implemented, And I think a key part of that, it is, and you've highlighted that communication and that connection back in, and members also seeing someone. It is, it's all part of that personal and effective approach. What I was interested in, though, is in terms of, because often we think of a Main Street retail activity, because that's highly visible. What has been the reaction in terms of, say, the office or commercial activities above ground floor in terms of their support or otherwise for the direction that you're heading in?
It's actually been really positive, because what I've been hearing from some of the agencies that hire out these, the hire out, the commercial leases, they're saying that because we've now got past COVID and there's a sense that office morale is dropping if people aren't in the office, they're telling me that they're seeing an increase in the amount of people wanting to bring their offices back downtown. So from that side of things, I think it's actually just really positive.
No, thank you.
Bruce, welcome, Bruce. We can see you. Your audio.
I'm going to make a comment on my appearance. I thought I might have taken my hand.
No, I was just going to. Well, I was going to say your visual was looking good, but it's deteriorating. But the audio is good.
Look, thank you, and my apologies to actually the presenters as well as the committee for being late. I hadn't quite realised the meeting had started. My apologies. Look, I'm very to our presenters, as a regular visitor to Tauranga, I can see the visible change in downtown Tauranga, even with development. And as you say, and if it's 6 cranes by the end of the week, it's something that creates a vibe which is really positive. But as importantly, as a regular visitor, the offering in the centre of town is clearly developing. So that's I encourage that. Can I just ask one question, which is generally in the paper, but also when I came in, I think our presenters were actually mentioning this, and that is the idea of expansion. I just wanted a clarification. Is that expansion in terms of the area to which Main Street Tauranga actually encompasses? In other words, you're looking for a greater revenue targeted base because there is a growing expansion of the centre of Tauranga? Can I just get some clarification on that, please?
We hadn't.
So did you want to comment, Ash?
We haven't exactly said that we would be looking to extend our area that we've got at the moment. I think that was great in the prior one. I do note that something that is in my mind is how far we could potentially reach with our organisation, and we're only up to First Ave. But we've got a lot of retailers now that are spreading out down the avenues, and it's how we can, if this organisation is going to keep going from strength to strength, how can we incorporate those businesses and make sure they are looked after as well? So I've got that question in my mind, and it will come up. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Morena Korua. Thank you very much for your report and your presentation. Love the bold vision, the best city centre in New Zealand. It's awesome to have something so out there, and hopefully we can get that. Just reading through the report, and then also around what that vision means: vibrant, diverse, thriving. A place that knows its commercial, cultural, and civic hub. I'm just wondering in here, where is Mana Whenua, and are they one of your partners, one of your stakeholders? Are they helping? Because to be the best city centre in New Zealand, Aotearoa, I would think we would need to have Māori, mana whenua, tangata whenua in there somewhere. So that's my pātai to you.
Yep, and we've got that in the strategic plan of how we wrap everyone in together. So we'll be starting to have those conversations now while we're in the process of the strategic plan. Yeah.
Yeah, we do really recognise the importance of that.
Chair. Morena. along similar lines, mine is the positivity. I love it, and I wondered whether that's reflected in your P&L and balance sheet, because I like that as well.
Mhm.
But the Gretchen advanced the discussion about expansion. But again, what you've been doing and have done, is that reflected in your financials? You think you're on the right track and it's incredibly healthy?
Yeah, so we obviously it took us a bit of time to get the right people on board so that we could fully crank into the initiatives that we had in our budget for the year. So now that we've got a bit more of a team, we're hoping to really start hitting our goals for the 2023-24 year before the end of that, and then getting into a strong next budget. Yeah.
And can I also note, so obviously this report's from July to December, but I actually didn't start till September. So obviously that has also reflected in the financials. We were hoping to get Amber on board. Yeah.
It was just me. What was the word? Yeah.
Pretty stressed there at one stage.
Yeah.
Look, thanks very much. The only other thing I just wanted to touch on was the street trial, and making sure that you have been and will continue to be involved in that. And the whole point of that is, having something that can be changed if it isn't working.
Yep.
It was quite interesting. I watched Q&A. Jack Tame was interviewing a transport specialist who'd been working in New York, and she was talking about the benefit of doing that sort of temporary stuff that can be changed if it isn't working,
Yep.
rather than spending a whole lot of money and doing something that actually doesn't work in the first place.
Yeah.
So just making sure that you guys are really looped in on that.
I'd just be keen to see it all done. There's a few empty things going around downtown at the moment. End of the week, cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Meant to be done by the end of the week before Easter.
Thank you, Gareth.
Okay, look, thanks very much. Ash, I think in fairness to you, you've done a fantastic job changing that organisation, and that's reflected here in the report today. You're developing a strategic plan, you're talking about, positive stuff that's happening in the city. It is tough. I mean, as I said, it's tough at the moment with the cost of living, and people keeping their hands in their pockets or not digging so deep in their pockets, but with disruption as well. But at the end of it, I agree with your vision. It will be the best city centre in New Zealand, and people will come from far and wide. So good on you. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, hard act to follow, but we've got the Mount. Michael, is it? Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you. I have got a presentation up there, but if it's not working, you guys are just going to have to imagine some very compelling Excel data points. Okay.
We do struggle with the, because it all has to go through the regional council. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Security systems.
No problem. We can power ahead. All right. You guys will have to forgive me. I'm actually quite new to the role here, about 3 weeks in the hot seat so far. So I will be speaking to the work that my brilliant predecessor has done for the association. By all accounts, we held a very successful AGM where advocacy has been at the top of everyone's list. This has been reflected in our 36% participation rate for the street use policy member survey. We held sessions with the Green Room on reusable packaging, as well as monthly thrift markets, which is moving us towards our United Nations 17 Sustainability Development Goals. Most importantly, however, we saw an increase in foot traffic of 4.4% in January compared to last year, 24 comparing with 23, which we'll look at in more detail shortly. Our street safety WhatsApp group continues to grow and has great engagement with 136 members at the time of writing this, up from 85 members in August 2023. I think since I wrote this, I think we're now over 140 members. So if we can go to slide 3, if we can get there. This is my 10 o'clock Excel graph, which, there you go, look at the quality. So just a reminder that the Mounts sales data is from Blake Park, Tay Street North. It's FPOS only, no online or cash sales. Sales data here captures 73% of our member base, and of those, 92% fit into the 3 categories up the top there, which is cafes, restaurants, bars, apparel and personal, and department stores and leisure. 2023 finished with an increase of 4.71%, which lands at exactly the national inflation rate of 4.7% for the 2023 calendar year. I think given the macroeconomic environment and tightening of household spending, I think this is still a pretty good result and a sign of the improving vibrancy to the area. I don't yet have sales data for January 2024, but footfall numbers did grow by 4.2% in that time frame. So really looking forward to seeing how the footfall has affected revenue for our businesses. Next slide. So the hospitality spend. So our hospitality sector does carry forward growth figures, as it experienced a 9.75 increase in spend from 2022. Most notably, our shoulder season experienced a large increase in spend with February and March 2023, as you can see up there, returning with an increase of 33% and 37% respectively. November also had a pretty good month with an increase of 11%. Every single month saw an increase in spend except for January 2023, which had a decrease of 7.7, but it's pretty likely that poor weather conditions in this month resulted in less people coming out. Don't have footfall data, coming back to 2022 to confirm that. Next slide. Yep. Okay, so looking at retail sales local versus non-local, or rather sales data local versus non-local. This is across all categories for the Mount. So the trend of increasing local spend is a really reassuring sign, as we typically think of ourselves as seasonal performers. But this will be a pretty big focus for me in 2024 and beyond. And I think the growth here is a good reflection of the effort to make the Mount the place to be, as you see in our strategic plan. Average transaction value is up from 34.90 to 35.45. This is likely a sign of inflating costs, not necessarily related to an increased footfall for the month. Cool. Next slide. Cool. So as you can see, well, might not be able to see there, but non-local spending is pretty close to consistent with the previous year, with the exceptions again being February and March, which would account for the increase that we've had there, which saw a huge increase in non-local spending. But interestingly, February actually had a decrease in footfall of 2%. 2023 non-local average transaction values decreased from 51.16 to 49.09. As you can see, comparing the two graphs, there's actually a higher level of consistency to the local support year round, which I actually believe is the foundation for longer term success for our members. Provides us with a platform outside of external factors like global pandemics to build from. So as in our 6 monthly report that you've seen, we have lots of KPIs that we've set out in our strategic plan, and I'll like to talk through a few of those with you today that I think would be most challenging and also most impactful as it relates to our mission statement of making the Mount the place to be. First and foremost, I think member engagement. Being only part-time, it is difficult for managers to be front of mind with our members. We're currently sitting at 30% of members having signed up officially to Mount Main Street. I've added about 5 more percent to that in my time so far, since the time of writing this. As per our strategic plan, we wanted to have 80% of the businesses in our area fill out the membership form by December 2023. I think given the constraints that we've had, this was certainly a bit too ambitious. But this will be a job, an ongoing job that I'll be setting time for every single week to make sure that we're getting those close to that goal and increase the engagement of our members. We'll review these targets at our next AGM and report back to you in 6 months' time to see where the growth is there. Safety and security remains a very high priority with a recent increase in break-ins and shoplifting happening in our town centre. Like I said before, the engagement in our WhatsApp group has been very high with 136 members in the chat regularly helping each other with antisocial behaviour and also pooling resources such as camera footage, heads up messages, and all of this is being very well received by our members joining the WhatsApp group. The Business Association has just received quotes to double our nightly security patrol until we get to a time where we feel like it's no longer necessary. This will be tracked against our incident report logging system, which will indicate when it is actually appropriate to review this policy. We do have some really amazing events and opportunities ahead of us, encouraging local and non-local spends, such as winter promotion, King's Birthday weekend, Christmas movie in the park, and coming up this weekend, Jazz Fest, which we've sponsored for Jazz at the Mount on Monday. Our continued placemaking efforts, hopefully we will see local support and non-local support both grow as more people see it as an excellent shopping and dining destination. Having lived in Wellington until about 3 months ago, I see a really big opportunity for more artwork around the main street and understanding how much value that does bring to vibrancy. I'll be looking to work with the Public Art Fund on collaborative projects to draw people down to Mount Main Street. Financials. Year to date, we're in a fantastic financial position. 30% of our annual budget is still to allocate for the last quarter of this financial year. However, at the time of writing this in the last week, we have had our sponsorship of Jazz Fest go out. So we're probably closer to about 25 left, which is pretty much bang on the money for the amount of time we've got left of the year. We've spent just 11,000 out of our built up funds for larger projects with 90,000 remaining of this ready to be deployed for approved projects. As with the report provided by my predecessor, the association is in a fantastic healthy position heading into the end of this financial year. So next slide. So key issues and opportunities to collaborate. So it's been really good to hear there's approval for the refurbishment of the lampposts in downtown Mount Maunganui. I would like to ask the support of the council to help fund flag runners to be installed during the refurbishment so that the association, we can put our own seasonal flags up, which will greatly aid us in our placemaking efforts. Parking, obviously all an ongoing issue for our members. I'm glad that the council has decided to gather some more data before making a decision on paid parking in downtown Mount. The Business Association members would support the council enforcement of time restricted parking in and around the town centre as the appropriate parking policy, but we'll continue to make submissions based on feedback. Our retailers have recently had issue with how few cruise ship guests have known about our town centre since coming directly off the ship. A quick but meaningful win is going to be aiding our wayfinding efforts from the cruise dock to Mount Main Street. So the association will be exploring installing street signage that points directly to us. This will work well with our intention to have also foot decals, flags and signage coming into the next cruise season. So plenty to look forward to there. Cool. Next slide. So looking to the future, I'll just discuss with you a few key opportunities that I see coming into this role. Firstly, the association have made an investment into a new social and online manager to work alongside myself. She's really, really excellent, and I would really like to see our digital assets, like website, social media, really grow to be the hub of what's happening in our town centre. The increased engagement of these tools will create more value for decades and managers to come. So this is a really long-term strategy for me, and I really think there will be a lot of value in building those assets up. This is going to be achieved with consistency, improved Google ranking, and clear brand guidelines. Secondly, I think the participation of our members is paramount, and their input and enthusiasm into making the Mount the place to be can be a rising tide that does lift all boats. There's going to be a clear time investment, like I've said, into making sure that our members have a strong relationship with the association. And as a result, I'm hoping to see our engagement levels increase to 50% by July. Look, I'm a salesperson up until now. So look, I'm probably a bit old school where I like to be in front of people. I like to have a relationship directly. So this is really me bringing my personality here to the role. And I think it's super important. Thirdly, I think there is more scope to promote Mount Main Street as a shopping destination in its own right. Lots of boutique stores offer something different, I think, than other town centres. And we've got 2 large promotions planned for winter to draw people in and also to grow our database and to help market future events too. So there'll be more to come on this in the next 6 monthly report. And just quickly before wrapping up here, I'd just like to thank Kendall and also Paul Mason for their help. We have had, like I said, over the last couple of weeks, a little bit of a rise in antisocial behaviour, and Paul's been really excellent in coming out and facing up to the retailers with me, the ones affected, and also Kendall in her help in my time in the hot seat, obviously pretty short so far. So she's been really helpful getting me up to speed in a timely manner. But I'll answer any questions you guys have as best as I possibly can. But if I can't, I have got Malika, our operations manager here, who might be able to fill in any gaps.
Very much, Michael. And have you moved up from Wellington? You must be enjoying the weather.
I grew up here. I'm a Welcome Bay boy, but 6-7 years of sideways rain usually. Ready to wrap it up. Yeah.
No, look, that's really, really good. The organisation is going from strength to strength, and in the time that the Commission's been here, we've seen it grow in both confidence, but also in just its capabilities. So it's great. It's great to see that. Wayne.
Kia ora. Thank you very much again. Another wonderful report. It's a shame that last slide was just taken down. Are we able to pop that up again, or is that a mission and a half? Only for the reason I looked at that snapshot, and there's lots of good, exciting things to do there. And I know you're Welcome Bay boy, you'll know, but the cultural sort of theme and trying to grow on that, I'd like to know that you might be pushing in that area as well. By way of example, I was crazy enough to go for a run around Moa on Saturday afternoon when it was hosing down. Everyone was drowning. There's a cruise ship in, and there was only a handful of people really sort of trying to get around. But I took the opportunity to say hi and talk to these people. And the only reason they got off that ship and endured that was from a cultural perspective. They had read about Moa. They knew the cultural connection to the iwi hapus of Tauranga. And they were really, they came from Mexico. They came from all sorts of places. But what got them off that ship in that weather, that atrocious weather, was from a cultural perspective. So it's not all about shops and spending. And so, again, unfortunately, we can't see that thing. I'll just put that little flea in here. It'd be really nice to see if there was a drive in that direction as well. Kia ora.
Thanks, Chair. Just picking up in terms of the wayfinding strategy, that was an issue that was raised not long after we started as commissioners, over 3 years ago now. So I was just wanting some reassurance, Michael, that is developing, how Main Street envisage it, or the association envisage it, and there's no particular barriers in the way of actually getting that in place for the next cruise season.
Thank you. So we actually had a meeting with Tourism Bay of Plenty on Friday to discuss this very matter. So we are going to be working with them very closely about how this is approached, and it's going to be a very collaborative approach based on the conversations that we've had with them so far. So we'll be having a meeting with them in consultation with our members. So they'll be invited to one of our member events to then speak. And then we've also come up with some ideas on how this will work. So I don't foresee any major roadblocks to this happening, but this is certainly something I'm going to be working on sooner rather than later. So it's all organised ahead of the next cruise season.
So can we just make sure that someone follows up with the, I don't know what, I can't remember what you call them, the flag
runners
on the polls as those, can we just make sure that someone's following that up? Anyone that's, any of the staff that are here? Gareth, you do that? Bruce?
Yeah, thank you, Anne, and thank you, Michael, for the presentation. Again, reflecting on being a visitor, a bit like you, Wayne, like to get out to the Mount, and I'm going to say run it. I don't run, I crawl up it, to be honest, and it's tremendous. But I just want to reflect that actually, for me as a visitor, makes actually both, and this is not to the exclusion, by the way, of Greaton and Papamoa, but that both the main street and also the Mount as regular places as a visitor I come to. So you just talked about collaboration with some of the broader regional things. What is the capacity? Is there grounds for, again, reflective of why the associations have been set up, for a level of greater collaboration between Tauranga and the Mount associations? I mean, I heard, for instance, in the Tauranga one about the idea of, again, ferries between the Mount and Main Street. Sorry, Tauranga in terms of the cruise ship capacity. There's something here that says to me that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And I'm just wondering how and if there is collaboration possible between the parts.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Today's actually the first day I met Jen. So this is, having only been in 3 weeks, I haven't had the time to essentially establish relationships and really see where we can go. But I'm absolutely open to the idea and very enthusiastic about a collaborative approach. I think a ferry between the two would be amazing. That would be a really cool opportunity to really showcase our region, the best of both worlds. So yeah, definitely something that I can explore over the next 6 months.
There is collaboration. Kendall works quite hard. I think there's quite a bit happened last year over a couple of marketing projects. As far as the ferry, there used to be a ferry, of course, and I can tell you that both Stephen and I are working very closely with the regional council, because there've been various studies done, all of which seem too expensive and too difficult. Although there was a ferry running through the Wednesday Challenge, which was quite successful on a Wednesday when people knew that it was running regularly. Some of the cruise ship passengers used it, but of course you've got to have something to do when you get to the centre city. At the moment, it's a tour of construction sites, which in itself will become more interesting over the next few years. So we do have our staff investigating an offer that's been made to us, and we've got the staff having a look at that to get a picture of what's actually been pitched, and then we will come to both downtown and Mount Maunganui to talk about how we might work together to promote that, both for visitors but also for regulars, for commuters. Yeah. Wayne. And then Stephen.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I had put my hand up before you said that, because I just wanted to reiterate. I've attended a number of hui over the last few weeks, where it came as a bit of a shock to everyone. Well, they kept saying, it's innovative and it's new, and we're thinking about a ferry. Well, it's not. And so I just wanted to make that clear to, wherever we're being zoomed out or whatever we're doing. we had a brilliant ferry service when I grew up in the city. And in fact, from, I'm guessing now, age of sort of 8 to 16, that was a prime way to get across the harbour. We used to take our bikes on there. We could go over the mountain, spend the day. You know how close proximity it is. There, once you land over there, so you get a lot more traffic without the parking challenges that might be over there. So it would be a great collaboration, as Bruce Robinson brought up, but it used to exist. And now from that local perspective, and you picked it up in your data, I mean, that's a generator. It's lovely to have those spikes during the summer months for the non-locals. But if we could get further engagement and people crossing and going into your centre, it'd be advantageous, I'm sure. But let's hope this gains traction, because we had a brilliant ferry service when we were younger. Kia ora.
Put your hand up.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to say once again, another excellent report. I really do like the use of the data to show the outcome of your work, but also your presentation included what are the various initiatives and ideas that you have underway, which is really positive. I think for me, each of the presentations that we're receiving demonstrates the benefit of this process, because in terms of collaboration, each association can see what the other is presenting, and I'm sure we'll go away saying, oh, that's a good idea, I think I'll pick that up and run on that. So I think there's a real value in this process. So thank you, Michael. I know it's early days, but the pathway that you're setting looks really positive. And I think even just the use of the data will be beneficial to your members. I know as a retailer myself, and having comparative data, I can see how I'm doing relative to everybody else and know whether or not I need to pull my socks up or change my approach. And I'm sure your members will be gaining value from that as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. I think one thing I probably be worth mentioning as well is one thing, because I'm also a business owner in the association. One thing I will be doing, especially with the next cruise season and wider engagement, is also teaching our businesses how to market themselves, help them help us, kind of thing. So yeah, really looking forward to working through that through the coming year and using that data that we've gathered to, I suppose, fuel that.
Okay, thank you very much. Very quick, Shane.
Quick comment. I think just wanted to, I suppose, encourage you in terms of what you're doing. I think one of the things that, from a commission point of view, you've been quite focused on is the whole placemaking element and what the benefits of placemaking can do, particularly from a business perspective. So I think in the report talks about some placemaking initiatives, and I know we've got an upgrade of the toilets in and around Port Takataka, and I think your predecessor also talked about some of those elements around gateways and inviting community people, visitors into the mount. We've done a bit along the waterfront, along the coastline there with the coastal walkway and pathway, and that gets people to the mount. Moa gets people to the mount. So you want those attractors to draw people, and then also to linger, to stay, have something to eat, to shop, and to do all those other things. So the investment that council's made into the public amenity will derive wider benefits through to your members. Just wanted to make that point.
Thanks very much, Michael.
Thanks, everyone, for your time.
Good luck in the months ahead. We'll look forward to the next, well, we won't be here for the next report, but I'm sure you'll meet some of those targets. Okay, Papamoa.
Right, well, good.
Julia and Leah.
Yes. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Commissioners and Council, for having us here this morning. If nobody else's presentation's loading, then mine definitely isn't, but we'll give it a quick second. I'm famous for making things too pretty. So I'll just wait for, we'll give it a shot. Otherwise, I'll just ramble it off.
Keep talking and we'll try and get it up and try and follow.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. All right. So we'll start on our KPIs. At Papamoa Limited, our charter is different to the other town centres. Our purpose is to create 3 or 4 annual events for the region that bring people in, to increase numbers on previous years and to also promote the destination. Let's see if it's going to play. No, we'll just leave it on there. It's okay. Over the past 6 months, what we have been up to is that we've had 3 major events. Maybe just pause it. It's going to completely fritz out on you behind you. So over the past 6 months, we've had the Manawatia Matariki Papamoa light up the Stormwater Trail, which we are hugely proud of. We've also had the Papamoa Santa Parade, and we have another Manawatia Matariki coming up. So we've been big spenders in the last 6 months, and we're going to be looking for a lot of funding moving forward. The Papamoa Santa Parade being the last one that we ran, we were back to its full glory of 700 metres long. We had a lot more diversity in the parade. Great to see parafed, great to see more multicultural associations coming in. And overall, the atmosphere was just, it was really charming. It was one of the greatest years that we've seen that crowd and the organisations within our catchment just really uniting and just a different level of energy this year. We had 25,000 participants come along to watch the parade. Last year it was slightly higher at 30,000, being that there were no other Christmas events on. So we're back to where we were, but really proud to hold that for Tauranga City and look forward to putting some more sparkle in that in the new year. Manawatia Matariki, so Papamoa light up the Stormwater Trail, which was just nominated as an event finalist for excellence at the Western Bay of Community Awards. I'm really honoured to be there to represent, tangata whenua. That's something for us that I'm really proud of in my time here at Papamoa is we've worked really hard to weave the strands. I'm really excited about Matariki this year. The conversations that we're having with iwi are the direction that we want to move forward long term. Building in different elements like Namonga Tohora, which is the story of the 3 whales, which is synonymous with our region and our backyard. Over the past 6 months, over the past 3 years, having run this event, what I did notice off the back of the native trees being planted down was that people didn't understand our history and the significance of iwi to our backyard. So those are the different things that we're working on at the moment, and just really great to see iwi fully engaged, fully immersed, and bringing a lot more to the table. So this year you will see more of a direction towards that. I'm probably completely out of order. Awesome. So next up for us is obviously working quite heavily on Matariki at the moment. One of the other things that we're moving towards is data creation, engagement, and strengthening key stakeholder relationships, which is something that we are quite strong at there in Papamoa. Iwi relationships being the defining difference of who we are as a town centre. We really nurture that and are aiming forward to grow. Strategic plan is a big one for Papamoa. We've never had the funding for it, so we've managed to dip our toes a little bit more into that era. We'll be able to utilise that to help us create data set points because we don't have many ways to gauge how we are reaching those deliverables in our backyard. And then increasing the ratepayer zone. Now, I know that Greeton has touched on this. We have been working very closely with Kendall. It was a process that didn't exist for us. And thankfully to Kendall's experience, she's been able to start leading the way forward with that. So we would like to change the Papamoa ratepayer zone from what it was in 2014 was Domain Road, that little bit of Gravit, up to the holiday park. Papamoa is much more than that now. We'd like to move it from where we are on Domain Road down to the new development coming off Te Tumu, and being that is Papamoa to those that live there and offering more scope for us to do more exciting things. We do have quite a small budget, so I can tell you most certainly it's a revenue chasing goal for myself, and being that I know what I could do for the region if we had more funds there. Awesome. There was a beautiful presentation that went with it, but you can all watch it afterwards.
much for that, and we do apologise for that, for the technology. A lot of it's out of our control because we're here as guests of the regional council, so it all has to go through their system, I think, which is what holds it up. Shad.
I just want to commend you on your being a finalist for the awards. I was there the other night and noticed you guys represented in the one of the categories. I can't recall what category it is, but great to see you guys represented there. I was kind of interested in the expansion of your area of interest. And I think, even with the nomination through and a finalist in the Western Bay Community Awards, demonstrate the value, I think, of what you deliver for your membership. So it's a great way to promote what you do. And that kind of links through to, that expansion. I think for other businesses towards Papamoa East or some of those other commercial areas, they need to see the value of what you bring. And a value proposition. So promoting the events and the ideas and even with the awards is a great way to kind of link through, actually, this is what we can promote, this is what we deliver, as a way to draw in that wider commercial base. I just wanted to encourage you in terms of what you're doing there, but also the work that you're doing with mana whenua.
Thank you. And I think you're right there. It is quite a process. I have to literally walk every single business in that catchment. But having that ability to even create a website that can promote all the businesses that are there, they engage with us, and a lot of those commercial businesses up the line are entering in our events. So it's going to be a bit of a process, but thank you for your encouragement.
Makes absolute sense, and it's good that Kendall's found a process that you can go through. Any other? Yeah, Rohari.
Kia ora, thank you for your presentation and your report. It's a pity that the tech failed on us. I know that you guys always bring some really cool videos. I don't think we've ever watched the video though since being in this room, but who knows, keep doing it and maybe it'll work one day. But just a comment, I just wanted to commend you on your what sounds like is a really good relationship that you have with mana whenua in terms of supporting some of the events that you have, and even just broadening your site and your purview across Whittleham, which you're in, and incorporating some of those the pūrākau, the stories within the area, because that's what makes Papamoa really unique, and hopefully some of the other main streets might be able to pick up on some of that and maybe come to you for some advice on how you went about that and how you incorporate the kōrero from the whenua in terms of what you're doing. So tēnā kōrua.
Thank you very much. Thank you. No more questions? No? Good. Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have recommendations there to receive Kendall's report, the Greaton Village Community Association report, the Main Street Tauranga report, the Mount Business Association report, and Papamoa Unlimited report. Bill, you're happy to move that, and Wayne seconding that. Thank you.
Just a brief. And in moving it, I'd just like to acknowledge where all of the four organisations are now at. And when we started 3 years ago, it was quite a different situation. And I think also the TCC organisation providing a far greater level of support and providing the ability for that relationship to develop and obviously work well between the organisations. So I think, and it's therefore pleasing that it's the last lot of reporting that we will get, and really leaving it on, in my view, a very positive high note in progress over the last 3 years.
Thank you very much. Very, very, very true. Very true. Okay. I'm going to put that motion then to receive those reports. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Te pio. Now, I'm going to have to give my apologies and leave, and Wayne is going to take over the chair. I'm gutted.
Right, there we go. Smooth transition, wasn't it? There we go. So we are now item 9.2, which is the local alcohol policy LAP, please. Oh, there we go. Sorry, Sarah, you're sitting right there.
I'll just give a quick introduction to this. You know the details very well and the decisions in front of you. The background of the report does set out the policy development process, which commenced in late 2021. This committee discontinued the approved LAP, local alcohol policy, in December 23, in order to further understand the impacts of any changes to the current LAP and to have some conversations both with individuals and organisations over that period of time. So the decisions are now back before you. They are the ones that you considered in October 2023. And they relate both to on-licence and off-licence operating provisions. We do have a slideshow, hopefully, that will really just be, you'll see your recommendation B has a table of issues, and we thought that you could work through each of those issues for decision. But I'd also like to note that there is a table on page in paragraph 8, table 1, and that's a point of reference to show you what the current LAP says, what the first draft proposed, and then what the revised draft proposed. So that helps in the determination through the issues. There is one option which we can't quite see on the screen. So option 2, which is the final sales time for off-licence premises, that was not consulted on in the revised LAP, but that is in your options because it was an issue that came up in the submissions process. So it's just a matter that submitters wanted to be noted. And if you decide on any decisions around that timing, it would require further consultation. So that's just a note for you.
Okay. So, sorry, we're just getting the run play. We're going to deal with it one at a time. So you're going to speak to the first one. Are we off and running?
Yes.
Got here. This is the starting times for the off-licence premises.
Yes. So we through that revised LAP process, it was consulted on for 10 a.m. This is in front of you again following the conversations that happened with individuals and organisations in the last 2 months.
I'm putting that to you. So we've got the option A, which is 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. to change that time. So, Bill, you got comments?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And I would just like to make some context comments because at our last meeting where we deferred or paused, some of those conversations actually were very, very helpful. And I think what also was clarified for me was the section 3, which is the purpose of the Act. and particularly clause 2, which talks about the characteristics of the, well, in this case, it was way back in 2012 of the new system. However, a key characteristic of it is to be reasonable. So I think that was a point that was actually reiterated and well made in some of those discussions, and that its administration helps to achieve the object of the Act. So I think, Sarah, is this our third go in terms of the local alcohol policy? I've probably got to the stage where less is more in terms of changing what we currently have. And I think it's something with some suggested amendments, which we'll come to in terms of the chair going through each of the options. It's also an opportunity for a new council at some point in time, if it so wishes, to do a comprehensive review and engagement on the LAP. And I think one of the reasons for that, as Sarah has noted, there are some things that were not consulted on, such as the closing time for off licences. And some of this, in my view, works as a package. So I think that opportunity in the future for a new elected council, I think is worthwhile us providing that in terms of what we do today, in my view, are some tweaks and some to the policy, but really leaving a wholesale review to the new governance group at some point in time. Now, moving to the detail, and I found some of the input which included in dealing with the first matter on our agenda regarding the starting sales time for off-licence premises. And the feedback we had from some of those discussions was that it would be more appropriate to look at the end of the day as opposed to the beginning of the day. And I believe that there is logic in that. As noted by Sarah, we can't change the closing time without going out to consultation. So, Chair, it's my view that we should retain the existing sales time of 7 a.m. We actually also heard from some operators that they actually undertake their restocking or purchases because of the nature of those businesses at the beginning of the day, not during the day or towards the end of the day. So I think in terms of taking a reasonable approach, I think we should leave the starting times alone at the present time for us off-licence premises, and that if a new governance group wishes to look at all of that, they look at it in a more comprehensive way in terms of both starting and closing times, if they so wish.
Thank you, Bill. Look, just for clarity, again, we're just getting how we're going to approach this. I think just for clarity, we might go through each issue and discuss as we're going to do, and then vote on it so it's quite clear. So we've got the options A, B, and C there for this item for issue 1. Are there any further? Oh, there we go. We're here. Look down and lots of hands up. Sorry, just warming up. I don't know who went first, but Stephen, you go first, and Tapio after Stephen, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I fully concur with the comments that Wesley has made. I think the subsequent round of feedback made it very clear that a change in the 7 a.m. opening to 10 a.m. would have quite a significant inconvenience impact on the community, as well as the impact on the businesses that operate. We heard from shift workers, we heard from businesses who access alcohol for whatever functions they're running early in the day. We heard of the issues associated with the supermarkets having to demarcate areas and issues with staff not being able to sell alcohol to people who, on a reasonable basis, have come to buy it. And I think given all of those circumstances, a change back, retaining the 7 a.m. as opposed to changing it to 10 a.m. is the right thing to do. And I'd like to move option B as the preferred option, Chair.
Thank you. Receive, Stephen. Bill?
Koutou e noho nei ki te tāhuhu nei o te kaunihira ki te moana o toi, no reira mihi kawano i hoki ki a koutou katoa. I just wanted to follow up in terms of... Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, you can hear. Copy. Yeah, I just following up on Bill and Stephen's comments. The other point that I heard clearly from those that were representing part of the supermarket was that the move to a 10 o'clock opening would only affect around 2% of their customers, and 98% of their customers actually do their shopping out of that time, between the 10 o'clock onwards. So they did provide us those stats. But I do agree that the main issue is around when sales are concluded, in terms of the closing time, and that's brought forward. Definitely a potential around that point, I think is significant for the policy going forward. The convenience issue for staff, restocking, well, that's fine. It's around customer availability, around the opportunity to purchase it after shift or before shift. So either way, they're going to have to move their routine around how they purchase those items from various outlets, and it's really because the supermarkets are open that early that they become more convenient. But like I say, it's only that the sales only represented 2% of customers. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Te Pio. Rohario.
Kia ora. Like to tautoko parts of what Te Pio has said and also what Bill and Stephen have said. So agree that appreciated the opportunity to hear from some of our affected groups within our community. And yes, the supermarkets did say it only affects about 1 or 2% of people. So if we're looking purely at how many people will it affect, it's really minimal in the morning. We're going to have a really tough time once we're looking at trying to scale back the evening. And it's a pity we did not consult on that, because that would have been something that would have been really good for us to really debate now and to decide on. Hoi anō, he kaupapa no tēnā. So we will need to leave that for a future council to when they review the LAP. So in saying that, our reasoning, if we were to look at that other end of the spectrum, wouldn't fall purely on the amount of people that it will affect. It would need to have some really strong evidence there around the potential harm of selling that alcohol later in the night. So based on that reasoning, when we look at the morning, it's actually, there's no real potential to reduce any alcohol harm by having an earlier opening time. So that's where I come in to support Stephen's motion, and I notice nobody seconded that, so I will, that we go with option B. Kia ora.
Kia ora, kia ora. Oh, here we go, Chad.
Sorry, I also support option B. I do note that there is a lack of evidence to support later opening from a health perspective. But yeah, I'm in favour of option B as well.
Kia ora. If I can maybe have a closing comment then, as a committee member. Oh, so here we go. One more. Oh, sorry, Bruce, your graphics we can't see your hand up, but your hand is up apparently. So your comment, please.
Yeah, look, thank you. And given in a previous vote, I voted for 10 o'clock. I thought it's useful just to reflect my journey on this as well. Terrible phrase. Look, I think we're recognising either the absence of strong evidence around this to support what was previously quite a strong intuitive feeling from from a majority of the committee. So I'm trying to look at 1 to 7 as a basket of measures and really put across the test what moves the dial. And this area seems to be one that we're struggling on to be able to progress our policy. So I'm comfortable that we retain 7 o'clock. And look, recognising that probably time's out, we need to move on. But actually that I think I would be keen that we leave a strong encouragement for the next review to see what further research has come out in this area, if at all. But I think there are bigger things further down the list we need to get on with. So I'm not going to hold up trying to move this to 10 o'clock. I'm happy to, again, support the motion on the floor, Wayne, for retention of 7 a.m.
Thank you, Bruce. And look, Ed, so I don't want to hold up things either. We've really given these issues, this one and the others that will follow, we really have thrashed this out. We've put a lot of mind to it. I'm in the same position as Bruce. I was in favour of the 10 a.m. increase of times, but given I will make this closing comment though, again, as a committee member, I think the kaupapa and the intent is good. We're trying to just make sure the risk and harm in our society and those who are vulnerable. So I thought, yeah, so that's where I was coming from in first instance, but based on the evidence, the percentage, let's say the small percentage of potential harm it could, inconvenience it causes, I likewise sort of have changed mine and look at option B. So look, we have Stephen has moved, Rohario has seconded, so that's a matter of putting it to the floor. That is for option B for issue 1. So can I call all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. And those against? Aye. That is carried.
Aye.
Belatedly. Move on to issue 2, please. That is the final sales time. This let's see how this goes. Fairly straightforward, I think. But Sarah, you want to
Yes,
speak,
this relates to the previous conversation that a lot of submitters and people making comment felt that it was the closing times of off licences that had the potential to cause more harm than the opening times. As I mentioned, we did not consult on that, so if there was a decision made, we would need to go out for consultation. So potentially this is another option where the committee can recommend that at the next review this be specifically looked at.
Thank you for that. And again, committee members have made that. Bruce, Rohario and Bill all made those comments, so something to look at moving forward. So with that being said, so there we go. No? Yep. Bill? Yep, thank you, Bill.
but also noting again, it's two sides of a coin in terms of opening and closing, and that's something for a review at some later date.
Thank you very much, Bill. And okay, we've got a mover and a seconder, please. Yes, comment.
Yeah, just wondering if you could put something on there to say that there needs to be a review in the future. Like, are we able to do that?
We can put an additional recommendation in the paper.
So there would be for the incoming council, they'll have a list of all their policies and bylaws for review, just as you can get that the committee structure may be same or different. So you could resolve that when they create their upcoming policy program, that they consider this at that time. So then that at least then gets that into the system, and they can make a transparent decision as to whether or not they want to review or not. So I can draft up some words for you if you like. Yep.
Just a clarification, Chair, that would relate to the overall LAP as opposed to a specific provision. Okay.
To the overall LAP, but when the staff would write that report, they would then so the resolution is that it must be considered, and then the staff, in providing advice to the incoming council, would say these are the matters that the previous council had considered and thought had merit in being reviewed. No, that'll be for the incoming council when they're developing their work program. So all this does is formally put it through, so it's at least discussed and considered as part of that process.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for the clarification. So status quo, we will go with, got a mover and a seconder. So for issue 2, that is option A. Can I put that to the floor? All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Goes on to issue 3, which is locations for new bottle stores. Sarah.
So the current operative LAP doesn't have any specific restrictions about where bottle stores can be located. With the revised draft LAP that we consulted on in August 2022, it was proposed that there'd be no new bottle stores in areas with a deprivation index of 7 or more, and that deprivation index is really used as it's the only marker that we have of social deprivation. So it's just a useful tool in developing policy. When we discussed this in October and we looked at the maps of current locations, there were a number of off licenses through the city centre area, and when we reviewed where the future of the city centre was likely to land, we discussed potentially having no new bottle stores established in areas with a deprivation index of 9 or 10 rather than 7 to 10, which captures a lot of existing venues. So you've got option A in the paper, which is what we consulted on. There is an additional option B here that would tie those restrictions just to deprivation index 9 or 10.
Bill.
Thanks, Chair. I would be happy to move option B in terms of areas with a deprivation index of 9 or 10. In terms of our previous discussions, I have to say I've been challenged myself about the use of the deprivation index and the potential unintended consequences of that, and particularly in terms of going from 7 or more. So I think at our last discussion, I was persuaded in terms of the 9 or 10 could be a way of reducing the opportunity for some of those unintended consequences, particularly where the boundary was down a road, for example, and you'd have one deprivation area which you could have bottle store in across the road, or a few metres away, another one where you couldn't. But at the end of the day, I was probably persuaded that at least 9 or 10 started to give an indication in terms of potentially reducing alcohol harm.
Thank you, Bill. I'm looking, waving, saying, look, in full disclosure, I think I was one of those that pushed fairly hard in terms of trying to persuade deprivations. So what is it? So seven or more. I will say this to my detriment. I can't recall the graphs that you put up and where it was. So I know I functioned on the 7. I'm not quite sure, and I say where 9 or 10 is, and the restriction. So I'm going into this a little bit blind. I know me, probably bloody minded and held on to that 7+. But and Bill has never wavered in your corridor on that fact, and I do. It seems nonsensical, exactly what you pointed as one example, that you can get access from one side of the road as opposed to the other. So I always have taken that on board. We probably can't pull that map up, but look, it's been moved that option B. Any further comments? We've got a little heart. Here we go. So we'll just take a second there, see, and we can use a little arrow. There we go. Slightly there. Does that help? 9 and 10. Yep. Okay. Thank you. I just want to. Any further comments? Oh, so we have got some hands. Here we go. So, and again, sorry, don't know the order. Bruce, we'll lead with you, and then Stephen, please.
Look, I was just going to speak to my challenge, my being challenged around deprivation levels as well. Not because I'm a policy planner, I'm an accountant, unfortunately, but I do get that general view. Look, I take it, and I'm probably asking Sarah this question. What are the risks of labelling areas deprivation levels? What are the risks of preventing development, actually, if that's possible, that improves these areas? I guess in the long run, a deprivation area move upwards, in other words, deprivation becoming less, is actually happen over a potential period of time, which means it can be conveniently reviewed from time to time when the local alcohol policy is actually reviewed. Never going to be a significant change within a short period of time in terms of these classifications there.
Sorry, Bruce, that was a little hard to hear because you're cutting in and out there. I think what you asked was these indexes will change over time, and they will. And you're quite right that it can be a key part of a review process at the next stage of the LAP.
I presume in reality they don't change that quickly, though.
No, they don't change that quickly.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So it can be accounted for easily from period. It's fine, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully I'm coming through okay. I'm supportive of, I think Bill moved option B, and I'm certainly happy to second that. I think one of the key determinants here is that when you look at the map, area 7 covers a large proportion of Te Papa, and in particular the area that we're hoping to intensify in the city with the city redevelopment, etc. Whereas 9 and 10 are definitely more targeted. Though I would remind members of the information that came out in media last week, which highlighted the alcohol consumption by areas across the country, and through wastewater testing. And interestingly, the South Island and country areas had the higher level of alcohol consumption as compared with the general population. and areas in South Auckland, which would typically be 9 and 10 deprivation areas or more representative of those areas in Auckland, were among the lowest consumption of alcohol per capita, according to that data. So it is very, I think that the conclusion I draw from that, it is very hard to actually have a clear understanding of the impact of alcohol harm based on a deprivation area. I think it sends a signal, which is useful. So for that reason, I'm supportive. But I'd have to say I'm pretty much on the margin as to whether or not this is going to be that effective.
Kia ora, Stephen. Thank you. I agree. Read the article too, and completely speculation. I read it, unfortunately, as those really lower socioeconomic areas around the country may be using things other than alcohol, I'm afraid. So that's a reality check, different discussion. Not going to do that now. But we have a mover. We do have a seconder. My computer's gone off. There we go. So option A, please, for location of new bottle stores. Can I put it to the floor, please? All those in favour? Option B. Option B, sorry. Option B. There we go. Just trying to sneak it in, Bill. Did you pick that up? Option B, please. All those in favour? Thank you. Those against? Nothing. Carried. Thank you very much. That brings us to issue 4, which is new on licensed premises in industrial areas. Sarah, again, please.
Yes, this is a little complicated, as you'll see from the narrative in the paper. There is no current restrictions on unlicensed premises in industrial areas, but in the revised LAP, we consulted on bringing in restrictions so that there would be no new on licenses in those particular places. But our gambling venues policy cross-references when and where venues can operate, and we have proposed, so option A you've got in there, no new unlicensed premises will be established in industrial areas, is what we consulted on. If you want to proceed with that option still, we would note that we need to cross-reference to the gambling policy that it doesn't apply to new licenses for existing premises that have been sold or for an existing premises that is relocating to a permitted industrial area. Because they are restricted to where they go, they need an on-licence to operate. So we need the two policies to talk to each other.
Thank you. Even I understand that. So there we go. That's something. Have we got, I'll open it up. Any questions on that? So we do now, so okay, so we're looking at option B, I gather it. Bill, would comments?
I was going to move option C, retaining the current LAP position and no location restrictions. I'm not convinced at all in terms of by having no new licensed premises in the industrial or business areas, however we define them, that what that would achieve. And in fact, does that, if there was that restriction, ultimately encourage those to go drive somewhere else in terms of going to a licensed premise. So that's my position on licensed premises in the industrial area, option C.
Thank you, Bill. We're off and running. Here we go. Shad?
Just a question in terms of option C, how does that marry with the gambling policy?
That's fine with the gambling policy. It doesn't create that that tension between two separate policies.
Chair, I'm happy to second.
There we go. Thank you, Stephen. Are there any further comments on this? There was, again, a higher intended kaupapa here to try and restrict in those industrial areas. But we have been here several times, so I don't want to, it's calling for last calls. Any further comments, Rohario?
Yeah, just a comment. I mean, I'm still supportive of option A. No new unlicensed premises will be established in industrial areas, and if some communications between policies needs to happen, then let's do it. If you had have said it's not workable, then I'd probably lean more to option C, but I feel like I might be the odd one out here. So just wanted to note my comments. Kia ora.
Okay, so for issue 4, it has been advanced. We've got a mover and a second for option C. And again, please, I just want to comment, the fact that we've discussed all these things at length and thrashed it does give me great heart that we've given it great mind. We have got a resolution on the floor. Those all in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Issue 5, final sales time for on licensed premises in the city centre. Sarah.
Our current LAP has a closing time of 3 a.m. in the city centre, and we consulted in the first draft of the LAP on a 2 a.m. close time, but then the revised draft LAP was consulted on a 3 a.m. Close time. So your options here are to retain that current LAP position, or to change that final sales time to 2 a.m. Those are the two options. Those wouldn't require any additional consultation.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll throw it open for any questions or comments. Rohario.
I'm happy to support the recommended option, which is option B, to change the final sales time to 2 a.m. And that really is around, as we've talked about the last, I think, 2 to 3 times, trying to align as closely as we can to the Mount, which has is it a 1 a.m. closing time over there? It would have been great if we could have also had a 1 a.m. closing time here in Tauranga, but because that wasn't consulted on, 2 a.m. was, then at least let's try that. So happy to move that we, go with option B.
Good, we've got a mover. Steve, we do have a couple of hands up. Stephen, please, and then Tapio.
Thank you, Chair, and I support Rohario's comments. I think alignment of the times would have been desirable, but we're not in that position, and I too support the 2 a.m. closure. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Stephen. Tapio?
Got a Chair, I was going to do exactly the same thing as Stephen, so I'll lower my hand.
Hold up. So we have a motion on the floor. So I'll put it to, it is option B. All those in favour, please say aye. Those
Aye.
against, that is carried. Thank you very much. Brings us to issue 6, which is one-way door provision. Thanks.
Our current LAP has a 1 hour one-way door provision, so that starts at 2 a.m. prior to the 3 a.m. closure. You have 2 options that we've presented here. One is to remove the one-way door provision altogether, or the second is to retain the one-way door provision, and that would start 1 hour dependent on the time that you just agreed. So if that's 2 a.m., the one-way door provision would start at 1 a.m.
Right, we've got some comments. Rohario?
Kia ora. I was really thankful that we had an extra session to talk with some of the, I suppose, bar owners and some of the patrons here in Tauranga. And just the effects of the one-way door policy. We've trialled it, and just hearing back the feedback on whether it works or not is still up for debate. So I'd be supportive of removing the one-way door provision.
Build up. Thank you, Bill.
I'm happy to second that, Chair. And as Rohario has outlined, and it was helpful having some, and probably more fully understanding the operation of that, and and particularly in terms of the potential, the separation of people who are in and out of a particular premise. I suspect it's quite resource hungry, and I think the focus, if we don't have that, then the focus of the licensed premise then, and in terms of their resourcing of those who are actually in the premises themselves, and making and ensuring that there is compliance and appropriate behaviour. So on that basis, I'm more than happy to second that. It also provides the opportunity then, if that's with its removal, if there is a review of the LAP at some later date, then understanding any impact of that. Also, I think it's in terms of, my view, will assist in terms of the safety of patrons around licence.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Oh, there we go. Rohario's one. Yep.
Sorry, just to add and to build on what Bill has said, you know, we had heard from bar owners that they're trying to, they've got people on the door who are trying to monitor the one-way door policy when those people could be inside, but ensuring the safety of their patrons. But what we did hear is a real strong support from everybody that we talked to around working together, and including with the police, to ensure that our city centre at those hours early morning is a safe place. And I think, I can't remember the term, is there a committee or
an accord?
An accord. So to re-establish an accord, and pretty much everyone we talked to was very positive about that. So I think by removing the one-way door policy, that's one step, but it's also around everybody wanting to work together along with an accord with the police to ensure that those measures, why we put in the one-way door policy in the first place, they'd be attended to through an accord.
Kia ora, Rohario, tai toko. And I think we heard sort of movements in that direction earlier in a report early in the meeting. So that being said, we've got a mover and a seconder. Can I put it to the floor then, please? All those in favour say aye. Those against? That is carried. Thank you very much. Item 7, discretionary conditions for all off-licence premises.
Our district licensing committee can apply specific conditions on every licence that they issue, and in the revised LAP that was consulted on most recently, a set of conditions were proposed in there for consultation. And on under paragraph 31 in your paper, that sets out some bullet points of what those provisions are. When we had the conversation in October, there was a suggestion that that very specific bullet point around no single sales of beer or ready-to-drink spirits in bottles, cans or containers, with some volume specificity in there, just replaced by restriction on sales, single sales. That allows the district licensing committee to think about where the sales are, where the venue's operating, and what might be appropriate in that particular place. And also there was a feeling that that bullet point that says restrictions on sales based on the type of product and or its price is far too vague. So there was a discussion about removing those two bullet points. So the options that we've provided in the paper is to include that full set of discretionary conditions, or include those conditions but replace those two bullet points, remove one and replace it with revised wording.
Thank you. I'll call for any comments or discussions.
I'm happy to move the recommended option, which is option B, with the changes in wording.
So I can see that option B. Any advancements, any further questions? Okay, we do have a mover and a seconder for option B. Shan. Okay, I'll put it to the floor, please. Those all in favour of option B, please say aye. Those against? That is carried. Thank you. Now, that brings us to the end of agenda item 9.2, but for completeness, please, I do need a mover and a seconder that this committee receives the report, local alcohol policy. Can someone move that, please? Rohario and Shad, thank you. All that. I've just been asked, do we want to put all that up on the screen so we can see what we've just done for clarity? There we go. Commissioner Wosley said yes, so he's keen to see it all in writing. So just if you bear with us for a second.
So what's happening, Chair? A couple of other matters, well, two other matters that came up. One, I think Rohario has touched on in terms of the accord. And I'm probably looking at Sarah then in terms of ensuring that that matter is then followed up. And do you need a resolution on that? And B, another matter that came up in our discussions related to the liquor ban, but in particular, I wasn't sure whether they covered private car parks. And it was a matter that was raised with us from memory by the police in discussions with them.
The first question I can answer and say, no, we don't need a specific recommendation from committee. The team are already working on what an accord might look like, and Nigel, who is our secretary for the DLC, has also run an accord before, so has a good amount of experience in how they run, what works well and what doesn't. In terms of the liquor ban and private car parks,
Yep, I can speak to that. So we have a alcohol control bylaw, and that sets out all the alcohol bans across the city. Currently, there isn't any on private land, but the legislation allows us to do that. So when we next review the bylaw, we could look. Obviously, the legislation will ask us to look at what evidence there is for doing so, but it is possible. And things like dockland or if there's issues in a particular, say, supermarket car park, there is the ability to do it if we have the evidence of, and it's police that actually enforce that bylaw too. So there is the ability.
So the police that raised the issue, and it just seemed if there was a bylaw covering the public land and next door, it didn't cover the private car park or other land. So just on that, and I'm probably looking at Christine, do we need a recommendation or will that just flick up as part of our review at a later date?
A bylaw has a statutory timeframe where it has to be reviewed by, which is different. So it should just come up as a normal course as be a matter of consideration. If you want to put belts and braces, you can add a resolution, but it should happen.
Thank you, Bill. How far are we away from getting this thing up? I have an outdated run sheet. So I've got two. What's this one? There we go. Let me wing this. What is this? That is their approval. So those three we need to move as well. Okay, sorry, I don't know if your papers, committee members, I've got here approves the local alcohol policy incorporating the options. And B, we've also got approves the local alcohol policy approval in resolution C, above coming into force on 8 July 24, and E is delegates to the, we have General Manager, Regulatory and Compliance to make any necessary minor drafting or presentation amendments. So those three items, are we, so do you have those in front of you? Can I? Okay, good. Okay. I'm going to move. Can I have a mover, please, that we pass that? Thank you, Bill. A seconder, Shad. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Those items are carried. Thank you. We can now look to the screen and see what we have decided this morning. Now we can't. Okay. I think we all know what we did this morning. All right.
Read out the extra resolution.
There we go. There's an extra resolution that we're winging. Please, resolution F is, there we go. We can see that quickly. Everyone read it before it goes off. That a review of the local alcohol policy be included in the report on development of the policy work program considered by the incoming council. All okay with that? I will just say, can I make sure we do it all right? So Bill move, Shad second, those all in favour, please. Okay, those against, carried. Thank you. Hooky. Everybody is okay? Everyone's got what they... Thank you. Lovely. Righty-ho, we shall then move on to item, go back to my run sheet, item at 9.3, which is the adoption of the Mount Arataki Spatial Plan. Yeah. Morena. Thank you.
Morena koutou. Ko Kawaluka aho. So I've been leading the spatial plan and joined by David Fazakli, who led the Mount Industrial Planning Study. And as you're aware, this mahi brings both those projects together. I do have a quick presentation, 9 slides, but I don't know, is it going to work for us?
No promises.
All right. Look, I'll start off the dialogue anyhow, if you're happy. So yeah, Mount Arataki Spatial Plan. Today we're seeking endorsement or adoption, I should say, of the spatial plan. The spatial plan is the third of a number of spatial plans that aligns with the outcomes of the Urban Form and Transport Initiative and our smart growth strategies, including the draft strategy about to be signed off. The spatial plan delivers a 30-year blueprint that provides strategic direction for existing and future growth needs of the area. Working with mana whenua, our community and key stakeholders, the spatial plan includes a 10-year implementation plan. So really focusing around those key issues that have been identified in the areas we need to focus and invest in. And therefore it does form the basis for our long-term plan. And I can say that it is in strong alignment with the 2024 to 34 long-term plan draft. I think probably just to add, in terms of the context, in addition to being forecast for significant residential growth in that area, this area is of local, national and international importance due to its outstanding natural environment. And this plan is really about seeking to balance competing demands for the area to ensure a sustainable future for everyone. So that was that slide. If we can flip to the next one. So throughout the process, we've worked closely with a range of partners and stakeholders, including the likes of the Mount Business Association, working closely with mana whenua, Priority One, schools, groups representing businesses and so forth. And over that 15 months, we've gone on a journey with all of those stakeholders, working through our analysis, our problem statements, developments of, what are the key challenges, engaging and involving those groups and people through various workshops, design sprints, and also with mana whenua, direct engagement through their own wānanga and hui. And then towards the end, bringing all that together through the spatial plan that you've got in front of you and the actions that proposes. It also takes into account the work that David's led, the Mount Industrial Planning Study, as well as other projects such as Plan Change 33, Enabling Housing, the Connecting Mount Maunganui business case, and so forth. Next slide. So just, I guess, recapping on the Mount Industrial Planning Study, the recommendations went to the Strategy and Policy Committee on the 4th of December. The committee approved the vision objectives and endorsed key recommendations as part of that Mount Industrial Planning Study. Since then, there has been ongoing engagement with mana whenua and key stakeholders, and what you'll see within the spatial plan is that it does bring through the vision and objectives that were endorsed, as well as the other actions that were put forward at that meeting. Next slide, please. So look, the first half of the Mount Te Arataki spatial plan is very much the context. So understanding the area, understanding the aspirations of the Mount Te Arataki hapu, the strategic context and the engagement we've undertaken, all of which informs the direction of the spatial plan. And that leads into the key outcomes that we're seeking, and I'll talk those through in a moment. And then the directives, which are nested within our unique, livable, connected and healthy neighbourhoods, and then delivered through a neighbourhood or neighbourhood-based action plans. Next slide, please. So, working with mana whenua, and particularly hapu representatives, has been a key part of this mahi as we've stepped through. So over the past 15 months, we've worked through a series of wānanga with mana whenua representatives. So the outcomes of that process are very much weaved through the document. That includes upfront section which outlines place-based values and guiding principles around how we need to engage with mana whenua and when we're working within this rohi. That includes a takiwā map, which outlines those places of importance and wāhi to mana whenua. That's not about saying this is what it is. This is about saying there's information there and you need to go and talk with mana whenua when you're working on projects. And then within the actions, mana whenua, and I think equally a range of others in our community have raised a similar challenges, particularly around environment, air quality and so forth. So the action plan very much looks to respond to a number of those challenges raised. Next slide, please.
Kia ora, Wayne. Can you hear me?
Kia ora, Te Pio, I did see a hand up. Do you want to make a comment now or question?
Yeah. So
I've got three more.
Got what?
We've got just a couple more points in the presentation and the report, and then can I come back to you with those questions? It won't be a minute.
Haere tonu.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
So we're on the Mount Te Arataki outcomes slide. So I'll just read through these very briefly. Fostering, because these are the key outcomes, I guess, that drive everything and respond to the key challenges. Doesn't mean that there aren't other challenges and matters that we're covering, but these were forefront of all of our partners and stakeholders' minds. So fostering a thriving Mount Te Arataki community that centres around manaaki tangata, so care for people, and emphasising well-being and health of the community and the environment and the unique culture and cultural heritage and local identity. Providing opportunities for housing to better meet our social and economic needs, improving accessibility and movement, proactively managing natural hazards, land use and land use activities to enhance the well-being of our community, And last but not least, supporting an economically productive, healthy and connected industrial area that fits with the surrounding environment and communities. And you'll recognise that as a key vision element of the Mount Industrial Planning Study. So those outcomes are then taken into the neighbourhood directives. So we set out what are the directives that we need to take, the directions we need to take to achieve those outcomes. Next slide. And then all of that is wrapped up or captured within our 10-year focused action plan, which includes area-wide actions and then specific actions for each of the neighbourhoods, including the Mount Industrial area. And they're supported by timelines and indicative costs and very much aligned with our long-term plan. So last slide, next steps. So a lot of this mahi is already underway. We do have the Mount program in place, which has been helping to manage and integrate all the work we undertake and deliver within the Mount area. So projects such as Plan Change 33 are underway, and a number of connecting Mount Maunganui and a number of other important projects. And we will continue through the Mount program process to work with our partners and key stakeholders to deliver on the actions that we've proposed. Council's policy response to industrial related matters, and I think, and generally in terms of commercial outcomes within the area is now being moved forward through the commercial and industrial zone plan change, which was endorsed on the 4th of December. And this Mount spatial plan will, like many of our other action investment plans, continue to be coordinated and monitored as part of our wider Our Direction framework. So, yeah, happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Te Pio, hopefully you've remembered your question. We'll lead off with you.
Yeah, kia ora. Kia ora to you for the presentation this morning. My question and issue really relates to a couple of things. The first one, where do we see Mawao in the context of the spatial plan?
So in terms of the spatial plan, I think we've acknowledged that there's a lot of work being undertaken by the trust and plans in place, for the, I guess, for protecting and enhancing that taonga going forward. So this very much, I guess, looks to reflect that. And as a plan, I guess it's also about balancing the broader urban context that we continue to protect and acknowledge the importance of our important landscapes within this area.
That might be the response, but I don't see anything about Ngā Poutireo or Mawao in the report at all. They're not mentioned in the attachment, and they're not mentioned in the report that you've presented today. I would have thought that for residential, commercial, and as a destination, Mawao is significantly important. So that for it to be totally missing within the spatial plan and in the comments and actions, and it's not included in the relevance in terms of other relevant agencies. I think we've got a gap in the report that's not coming through to the committee.
Yeah, look, it's a fair comment, Te Pio. I think probably, as I say, we've probably taken or acknowledged that work's underway, and we're not looking to replicate or otherwise, I guess, be at odds with that work that's been undertaken. We could, however, look at some updates to the report to acknowledge all the mahi that is happening in that area and to acknowledge its importance. I think within the spatial plan itself, you'll see that we did lead with the story around Mawao, and I guess trying to set that context of its importance and relevance, but we're happy to look at other refinements that would bring to the fore comments that you've made if that's necessary.
Yeah, I think it is, because when I read the intro around the story of Mawao, I think every school in Mount and in Tauranga has a has a story that includes that narrative. It doesn't give any direction around what the importance and how that importance should be included. We've clearly got the relationship around the Mount Industrial Plan included in there, and I think Mo was just missing. That's just my point of view.
Kia ora te pio. I'm sure that's been noted, Carl, by you and your team. Thank you. Constructive comments. Can I say, I mean, very comprehensive report, thank you, and sets out, and as you've already alluded to, there's a lot of mahi already underway, so that's wonderful to hear, thank you. Any further questions? Shad.
Kia ora. Thanks, Carl, for the report. Just flicking through the report itself, and actually in the document and in your report, and it's probably similar to the Ōtimotai one where, in terms of framing it for growth, I think Ōtimotai had about 2,000 housing units over the next 30 years, and Arataki to Mount Maunganui's got about 2,600, I think, anticipated. And I assume through Plan Change 33 with housing intensification, all of that kind of dovetails together, and thinking about density, that's what we're planning for, and that's what the projections are, 2,600 housing units for the whole of the Mount Peninsula.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so the Plan Change 33 provides a centres-based approach in terms of providing for greater growth around those centres, and then also medium density residential in between the centres, and aligning to provide for that number of dwellings over the next 30 years.
And then how many, so that would probably equate to roughly probably 7,000 population of a 7,000 population increase.
A little bit lower. Household size is slightly smaller through that area, but I think it was probably close to the 5,500. Yeah.
I think my colleagues have got other comments as well.
Chad, yeah, Bill?
Probably my first comment in terms of it's great actually having this as a framework. The challenge with all of this, ideally it would have been in an ideal world having the spatial plan and then the subsequent plan changes around intensification and all of that, but we're not in an ideal world, so it is what it is. But as part of that, though, I understand that Priority 1 have been working on their industrial blueprint. I also understand that hasn't been finalised and made public yet. So it was really, and I suppose it's a bit of a similar issue to what Te Pio raised, but with a different focus. How then, in terms of what comes out of that blueprint, does that get integrated where there may be some relevant thinking and actions into the Mount Spatial Plan? And I do note that it does pick up in terms of the proposed accord that there have been discussions that Priority 1's been working on with businesses in the industrial area.
Excellent question. So we've certainly been engaging extensively with Priority 1, and certainly in the last 6 months in particular, also with the industrial steering group that they established. So that steering group has a number of key businesses and provided the guidance to the industrial blueprint. We have also seen a confidential draft of that. So we're pretty confident that we've picked up the key elements already. However, the blueprint will very much take a business perspective in terms of making recommendations as to how businesses themselves can respond. And we see the further actions and ongoing processes such as the plan change for the industrial and commercial land to pick up on some of those actions. The environmental accord, again, we're hopeful that will be able to be released shortly. council itself hasn't seen that yet, but we understand that that again is a commitment from the businesses in terms of how they will proactively respond to the issues identified through the Mount Industrial Planning Study and the Mount Spatial Plan.
And Chair, I think it's just recognising those types of initiatives such as the Accord in terms of non-regulatory actions that are being driven or being developed outside of the council focus. And I'd just like to note and commend that type of approach, because at the end of the day, there's no one silver bullet. There's a number of initiatives underway. The other matter I wanted to raise that, in section 5, which talks about the outcomes, and it talks about an economic, productive, healthy and connected industrial area that fits in with the surrounding environment. No particular issue with that, but I'm just wondering in terms of any commentary that perhaps should be in the spatial plan about the overall economic well-being, economic activity in the area covered by the spatial plan. So there is the industrial area, but there's a whole lot of other stuff happening in terms of tourism, cruise ships, etc., and whether the plan would actually be improved with some acknowledgement and discussion around that, as opposed to just that focus on the industrial area.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point, and I think probably, those key outcomes have been focused around the significant issues that have been raised. But as we heard from this morning from the Mount Business Association, there's a lot of work going on in that area and a lot of initiatives proposed. So I would say I feel that many of the actions that we have in there are intended to support that more general economic wellbeing, so including matters raised by the Business Association, such as increasing accessibility, the wayfinding, improving safety, and public realm outcomes and so forth. That is all about, improving that overall economic wellbeing. And we do talk about it in the upfront sections, but I think to your point, it's probably not coming strongly through the outcomes. So just looking at that section 5, we certainly could look at in that first outcome, building in, because we talk about emphasising wellbeing, and we are talking about the 4 wellbeings there, but we could be a bit more directive in terms of that wellbeing, including the health of the community, the environment, and economic outcomes within that first outcome, and potentially carry that through to one of the directives within the livable to include economic wellbeing as a key outcome is around the commercial centres. So I think I think the content's there, but within those outcomes and directives, it could be strengthened.
Certainly, Chair, I'd support drawing that out as outlined, because I also think it's important in terms of these types of documents, such as a spatial plan, whether it's subsequent councils, whether it's other decision makers through resource consenting processes or anything else, in terms of some of that guidance being provided at that higher level, and really making sure those matters are there for consideration. And I just have one final thanks, Chair. And this relates to the recommendations. And recommendation C talks about delegating to the General Manager, Strategy, Growth and Governance to approve any necessary or minor amendments to the spatial plan. No issue with that. However, we don't know, well, certainly we as governance don't know what's going to pop out of Plan Change 33, let alone the business case process. And I'm probably just wanting some reassurance that where those things are greater than the minor, whatever that threshold is, that there is some coming back to governance at that point in time.
Yes, and I think there's 2 points there. One's necessary and the other that is minor. So there's two tests there. It's not just, it's one or the other. And the necessary is around alignment, because we've got some statements in there currently that say, here's what Plan Change 33 provides for, based on the draft, what's been consulted. If that changes through the decision process, then we need to incorporate the facts, the final facts in. But so that deals with that. But yes, we absolutely would. We'd probably do that informally. And I've just picked up the 2 points that have been raised today, one by TPO around MOA and the other one around economic focus. And I'd see that falling under a necessary amendment. We'd probably do it via track changes and informally send it to you for comment.
So just outlining my concern is that whatever comes out of those subsequent, whether it's Plan Change 33 or other, or the business case, and that's through a particular process. However, what's in the spatial plan is what we, and that is collectively, in terms of the community, are wanting for the Mount to Arataki area. So I think we just need to exercise caution, because something goes through that statutory process and something pops out, doesn't mean that we need to change the direction necessarily of the spatial plan. That's
So there's two things. One is the direction of the spatial plan, and the other one is where the spatial plan summarises what is in Plan Change 33 and summarises what is in the business case. We need to get factual alignment while retaining the direction. So it's not for staff to change the direction that you're set. It's not what we would be doing, but we would ensure that there's factual alignment. So if somebody picks it up in 6 months' time, it reflects the facts as they are at that point without changing the direction.
my angst.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Bill, because I had the same question, especially on that delegated authority. So that's great. And Carl, I just say really constructive. And Stephen, I'm coming to you. Sorry, in 1 second. I see your hand's been up there for a while. Bill's been hogging things. I'll come to you, Stephen, in a minute. But again, constructive discussion, and I'm sure you'll appreciate the sort of the direction that the committee's been given. So, Stephen, sorry, long time there hanging. Please.
No, that's fine. In fact, the issues have largely been covered by the previous speakers, but I'd like to reinforce Bill's message, particularly around the importance of getting the sentiment on economic and commercial development in the plan. It's actually really good on livability and environmental matters, I think, generally, but it's a bit weak on the link to the economic performance. Chair, if I'm happy to move the recommendations, accepting the suggestion that the two matters that have been raised are amended in the document, and that we can deal with those informally to make sure that they are captured.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm happy with that as well. Other members, yeah, have we got it? So Bill has seconded that. So having said that, can I put that then please to the floor? Yep, Stephen's hands up. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? That is carried. Thank you. We're all happy here? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. And I just want to shout out to my team who's worked on this, mahi, and thank them for all their input.
And that's why I was trying to, you can see the amount of mahi and work you've been doing in there. So yeah, big thank you very much to you and your teams. Okay, now committee members, I don't want to be driving you too hard in the chair's seat, so I think we'd like to adjourn for some lunch. I think it is ready. Having said that, I do apologise to Bruce, to Pio and Stephen online. I don't know what your movements are. I don't know if we're pushed for time in terms of finishing. Are we all okay for a little break there? We have been sitting for a while at the moment. Half an hour? Yep. 30-minute break, and then we'll get back into it. Kia ora. No pushback. Okay, we'll catch you in 30 minutes. Thank you.